Okay. To this day, I have never seen Avengers 1.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. To this day.
That's hilarious.
To this day, I don't get the hype of Loki. I've never seen the Loki show. But
Yeah, he's
people
annoying.
love Loki.
Yeah,
And I never got that hype. And I was like, I think it was part of the reason why I never watched Avengers 1 because I was like, I don't care about Loki. Like, I
it's
started with
crazy.
Ultron and it was like, okay, Loki's not a part of this. Like, I don't care. I don't want to watch one. So I loved Ultron, especially because what's his name voiced Ultron, that actor?
James Spader.
Um, James Spader, yes. And I just thought it was fantastic. And then after that, I wanted to know why, because there was Easter eggs in the movie or things said that I didn't quite understand, and people were like
Mm.
freaking out over, and they understood this. I was like, why are you freaking out? I want to know. So then I would learn like, oh, this was reference to this and that, and in the comics, and I was like, comics. I was like, what? And so I started to care. I was like, whoa, there's more like context to this. Even though it was good to watch on its own, there was more context that made it better. So then I was like, from that point onward, I was just like knee deep into Marvel. But then I stopped. Um, I think I stopped during COVID because for obvious reasons, and I didn't really want to watch anything Marvel. And so what was the last movie I saw that's not Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. I don't. But anyways, I haven't seen like any of the last Marvel movies to come out in like 4 years that hasn't been Spider-Man.
What's funny is that people don't like the Ultron movie.
Really?
Yeah,
Whoa.
I don't get it because I do like it, and I saw it in theaters. But yeah, people don't like that one.
That's ironic because I know that you don't like Marvel.
A little bit, yeah.
I've always pegged you for like a DC guy.
That's funny.
And even
That's
then,
funny.
I don't think that you are bought into like either Marvel or DC movies. But I
I
do
like
feel
DC
like
movies.
I do feel like if there was a hill you would die on, it would definitely be some DC movies.
Why do you say that? Let's unravel that.
Because Sony constantly makes crap DC movies.
Sony,
Isn't it? Is Sony not the studio that funds
they make
DC?
the Spider-Man movies. Warner Brothers that does the DC movies.
Ah, there you go. Warner Brothers. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I feel like they've just been handled poorly, with the exception of a few. But I feel like for the most part, they don't do well in the box office.
I think the last couple haven't.
Mm-hmm.
But did you watch The Dark Knight?
Yeah, which I also put off for years.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, I like that one, but you didn't watch that
Um,
one in high school.
I'm gonna be real with you. I haven't even finished The Dark Knight.
Dog, what? That's crazy. That's the movie for us. That's the movie that everyone our age has seen
Sometimes I
and
know,
saw in high school.
I
Yeah,
know. I didn't. And
that's
there have been
crazy.
several experiences where it's like on TV and I'm like sucked in, and then I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what Batman is this? The Dark Knight. Oh, okay. And I just leave. So I'm like, I don't want to like this. I'm like, I don't want to like this. Yeah,
Why
it
not?
sucks. It's a crappy personality trait to have, and I'm working on it, and I feel like I've gotten better at it.
You didn't want
But
to like it?
yeah, because
Why?
okay, I feel like there is some credibility to this.
Okay.
My personality, this might be ADHD, as I'm learning as well.
Mm,
The idea of liking something, it's very hard for me to just not be all in. Like I want to learn everything. It's part of the reason why like I don't watch One Piece. I will not watch One Piece. I'll never watch One Piece because it's 900 plus episodes.
it's gonna end though.
But still, I'm not going to watch it. It's 900 episodes. It's going to take so much of my life. I know I'm going to love it, and I don't want to be consumed by it because like things that I like, I tend to be consumed by, and I want to like own merchandise and know details and buy the bonus feature. Like I want to be like all in on it. So it's like
That explains Star Wars.
what in Star Wars, Marvel and Star Wars are both franchise that I have spent
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars on, possibly thousands. And this was all my early 20s. Like I got into comics. I to this day I still have tons of comics of like when Marvel rebranded into one steady universe, one
Mm.
canon. I bought practically every freaking series up until a certain point. It's like for like a solid year. So I have number ones to like 30 of like so many what do they call it? Rebrands or whatever, resets. And so yeah, so it's like there are certain things I just don't avoid because it's like I don't have the capacity to do this right now. Like I need to focus on more important things in my life, like trying to build this collective and trying to do good in the world. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so for that reason, I get it. I thought you were gonna say like, oh, like Dark Knight, everyone's seen that. I'm gonna go leave.
Well, that's my initial reason. Like that's
So it's some like
that.
hipster shit.
Yeah, I hate that. So that's what I explained to you. What I just spent all that time explaining to you
Yeah,
was like the real reason, like me being real. But
that sounds very logical. What you said.
yeah, but the reason you gave, that's like the subcon. That's like my. That's what I use to lie to myself. You know what I mean? I'll be like, I don't want to. People like that. That's annoying. Like I don't want to. I don't want to get into that. But deep down,
I mean, everyone has that in like high school.
yeah.
What's crazy is when people don't break out of it. That's what annoys me.
And I feel like I've done a lot to not be that way, but it still happens to me. Like I'm trying to think, what are some recent things?
Chaperone was that for me.
See,
Like I wasn't against Chaperone, but I would see the name a lot and I'd be like, oh, like whatever.
yeah,
And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to this. I want to know what this is.
yeah.
But
Well,
it
you
took
don't
me. I mean, it didn't take too long, but it took I don't know a
longer
couple months.
longer than the average person for sure. For
But some
sure.
people take forever.
Well, look.
Like I get you. Like in high school, yeah, it would have taken me years to like certain things.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it takes a while. Not always actually, but sometimes.
yeah.
So you're not a hipster anymore?
There are still some things where I'm really strongly opinionated on, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, dubs versus subs when it comes to anime.
Jokes good.
Like I will die on subs.
I don't get that whole thing. I don't get it.
I will
I do
fight
not get that shit.
for hours
Okay,
on listen, I will fight for hours on telling you that you that the I okay, that the reason you don't like anime is one because you don't watch it in subs, or the reason why you're not enjoying anime to its fullest is because you're watching dubs. So either way, however you flip it, you're screwed because you like dubs. Don't watch dubs, watch the subs. Dubs are
I'm
trash.
very pro dub. I'm very pro
However,
dub. I'm pro
However,
dub.
as I've been maturing in life, as I've been, trying to be a better person, I have changed my mind on certain things when it comes to dubs. Like, I will admit that there are certain series that have just been taken care of in such with such attention to detail that the dub does it justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so, yeah, so in that sense, I agree. I can understand logically how some people can only watch dubs because let's say they're in school, they're in college, they're parents, they have so much responsibility. And so the only way they can consume something is by dubs, like they half watching, half listening. I get it. But I just believe that like some.
what annoys me about subs is that two things. One, you have to constantly look at the text at the bottom. So it works if it's a scene where they're just talking, but once they get to like the fighting and the story moves a lot faster, you
Mhm.
miss so much visual information because you have to constantly look down.
Mm,
That's one. Two, the subs are usually shitty. Very often, they're really shit. What people say about dubs is what actually happens with the sub. The subtitle itself, the translation is so bad, dude.
bro,
It is
bro,
so
bro, bro,
bad.
bro, bro,
Like no one speaks that way.
bro.
It's not a language thing like, oh well they speak a different no, like no one speaks that way. This is like an AI generated like translation. Like this is not I don't know how people accept this. This is ass.
Listen, you were correct 20 years ago. You were correct 15 years ago. Maybe even 10 years
No,
ago.
no, I've seen dubs, recent dubs of like
Of what?
I don't know. I have to go back and watch something, but I've seen dubs that were not from the '90s, not like an old ass show.
No, no, no. I'm talking about like 2010s and before, early 2010s. There's definitely dubs that I mean subs that have been poorly translated for sure. But
It
nowadays,
happens often.
nah.
Like I don't have to nitpick.
If you're watching B tier anime, 100%. But if you're watching anything remotely good, oh my god, dude.
No. I'll give you an example. So are we talking? So when we talk about tiers, is that popularity? Like the more popular it is, the more care they would have supposedly put into it.
Yes and no, because I just think it has to do with the studio. So you can have a studio adapt a very, very popular manga and it do poorly because they're just a notorious
Yeah,
studio for cutting corners, etc.
right.
So
Because there's an anime I can point to
yeah, point to it.
that is both popular and arguably does have a good amount of quality. Dragon Ball.
Yeah, okay, that's not a good example to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is so mainstream, it's so worldwide, and it started from the 90s. So it's a
Right. I'm
very
talking about the recent. They have an extended series that came out, Dragon Ball Super. That one's from the
look,
2010s.
but I feel like they don't need to because Dragon Ball, in a sense, is like pretty simple. It's a shonen, first of all. I feel like shonen.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I'm talking more about genres that are specific, like drama, slice of life, different types of genres. I feel like genres like shonen.
Those are more specific. Like most people watch the
Exactly.
action shit, like
You're right. You're
like
right.
uh like My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan.
Yes.
They watch stuff like that.
Fuck, dude, Attack on Titan. I would never watch Attack on Titan dubbed ever for my entire life. Look, okay,
Okay.
I see what you're saying, and I agree with you.
Well, to just my quick point to top it off, because it's such a big anime.
Yeah.
Usually, they take the time to like make these things right
Mm-hmm.
because it's so big. They kind of have to. That's why they didn't in the '90s and early 2000s, because
Yeah.
anime was still pretty niche
Oh yeah.
outside of Japan. So they didn't have to. They sometimes they did and they didn't, and that was that. But fast forward to now, like as a whole, it's really popular. It makes so much money, so on and so on. But Dragon Ball in particular, that one does so well and it's seen by so many people that usually in a position like that, they would have to get it right because there's so many people watching this shit.
But it's not needed. It's just not
But
needed
from a
because it's
business
gonna sell.
perspective, like
It's
they
not.
usually do that anyway.
It's not needed because it's gonna sell. So this is an actual principle in terms of the entertainment industry. You have to know this. If something is good enough, you can get away with cutting corners. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
sometimes,
because
yeah.
you're not trying to appease the margins. You're not trying to appease the masses. Or what is the saying?
No, it is the masses you're trying to appease
Yes,
because that's where the money comes from. Ultimately, it comes from the masses.
right. But the margins would want better accuracy, etc. But the margins aren't going to be cared for because the masses are what's making the money. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because there's so many more people watching this,
yeah.
you do have to pay attention to things like the sub, for example,
Wait. Oh,
or if
you're
it's a
you're
smaller
you're saying
show.
Dragon Ball. Oh, wait. Are you saying?
No, I'm saying the sub success.
Oh, I thought you were saying the subs were trash for Dragon Ball.
Yeah, the sub, the text at the bottom,
Yeah.
the English translation is ass.
Oh, it's ass. Okay. I thought you said success.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
No, it's ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one example. Like, there's more. I'd have to go and find stuff. But my
Yeah.
point being is that what people say about dubs happens is the exact same quality that is put into the sub of many anime, and people like don't notice it.
Because okay.
Then it gets to a bigger thing. Like, are you really paying attention to what's going on, what you're reading?
I am. I am.
Are you just talking out your ass when you talk about dubs? You know what I mean?
Look. Look. Oh, I have a counter to literally every point you've just given.
Okay.
I'm gonna first. I'm gonna give you a rare example of where you're correct, but this has to
Okay.
do with the type of show it is. There's an anime
Yeah.
called Kaguya-sama Love is War. So Love is War, right? It's a rom-com. Fantastic. I've seen it 4 times. Okay,
Damn, dog.
2 seasons, 3 seasons now. It's a
Damn, dog.
rom-com, but I love
I know,
rom-coms.
dog.
I love
I know, dog.
rom-coms, especially anime
I
rom-coms.
know.
Okay, Love is War. Oh my gosh, hilarious, funny, fantastic, animation beautiful, voice acting beautiful. I've watched it subbed almost 4 times now, but I plan on watching it dubbed, and I want to watch it dubbed for a few reasons.
Yeah,
Reason number one, it's going to be like a new series.
you should.
Okay. Reason
Okay.
number two, I'm going to get even more replay value out of it because of that.
Mhm.
Reason number three,
Okay.
they gave so much attention to the dub of that show that it's going to hit harder and be more funny for me because I'm an American. So the way that the show is written in Japanese, it can be translated and dubbed in a way that is funnier to an American audience or to a Western audience. So it's still going to be just as good, but different. I'm still going to love the sub more because I've watched anime for so long. I understand references. I understand aspects of Japanese culture that make those shows good. They don't need to translate it in a way that I, as a Western viewer, need to understand it.
Yeah.
I think watching subs just makes you a better just it makes you like a better freaking multitasker.
Okay.
I can read a whole sentence in like half a second and not miss anything that's on screen. Like I just think that the way your brain is trained, the subs at the bottom don't detract from the action on screen. Like if anything, it allows me to process what I'm looking at even more because I don't have to listen to what is being said. Now, that leads me to my other point. The reason why it's even better is because, in my opinion,
Okay.
Japanese voice actors, which is who it was intentionally created to be voiced by, the way that they just act, their emotion is just so much more
Mm-hmm.
captivating to me. Whereas, like, I'll watch Naruto in Japanese and then watch Naruto in American, I'm like, what the fuck is Naruto saying? Like, he sounds so annoying. In fact, I've met a lot of people who are like, I will not watch Naruto because Naruto is so annoying.
Right.
And I'll be like, okay, have you seen it dubbed or sub? Dubbed on Cartoon Network. Well, there's why. The voice actor for Naruto is so annoying. In the anime, it fits his character so much better because you're not focusing on how he sounds, you're reading what he's saying and you're understanding what he's saying. You're able, so in a sense, I'm able to let go of the sense of hearing and interpreting, so I don't have to hear what they're saying to interpret what they're saying. I can now hear the emotion in their voice. I can hear the special effects. I can hear the different nuances in their voices, and then as I'm reading it, it's like because I can read it so fast, I can now interpret what's on screen, and it hits me more.
Yeah.
So when someone's crying, it hits me more. When someone dies, it hits me more. Like I'm not I just I don't know. Like I feel like just different senses are developed, you know what I mean? But again, I can see where dubs are good because there's certain teams who the translation fits. Like the nuances fit more. They don't detract too much from the animation. One example of this would be like Pokemon, like when they're eating the onigiri, but they call them jelly donuts.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that.
You know what I mean? There's little things like that all throughout like Americanized shows where like what's on screen is clearly not what's being said is clearly not what's representing on screen. And so there's certain things you can't communicate because
Yeah.
us Westerners we don't have a framework for that. We don't have an experience to match that. But if you watch enough anime,
I will say what you're saying just now though
uh-huh.
is 100% accurate, but also very dated. If you watch more recent stuff, they don't bother adapting it. They'll refer to the thing as it is.
Yes.
So if it's onigiri, they'll say that. They'll say that.
Yes. Because we
They
have
did
more
used to, they did
context
used
now.
to say like jelly donut
You're right.
and have like a text at the bottom,
You're right.
but they stopped doing that. So that's why I'm saying that. So when someone says, "Oh, I hate dubs because of what you said," I'm like, "Bro, like you're right, but like, are you like 50? Like that was so long ago."
Yeah.
And then to what you were just saying right before that, most of that was correct, but it's an audio visual medium. So what you're seeing is part of it, and what you're hearing is part of it.
Yeah.
So the performances in Japanese are really good, but if you don't understand the language, you're not getting the nuance of the performance.
But
Like you can kind of hear it, but you're not getting all of it.
I feel like I am.
Even if the text is like correct,
Yeah.
it's only text. Again, it's an audio thing.
Dude, not to sound like
So you're technically hearing the person say the things, whatever they're saying,
yeah.
and it might be translated correctly at the bottom,
Yeah.
but there's that disconnect because you're hearing someone speak. It's not a novel. Like novel, it could just rely on the text itself, but because there's a performance involved, you're only getting at most. I'm gonna make something up. At most, like 80% of the way there. It's like listening to a song that's in a different language.
Yeah.
You can love it. It can be your favorite song, but you're never gonna be 100% of the way there if you don't know the language.
Yeah.
And you can go back and learn it or learn bits of it, but until you're fluent enough, you're never going to be 100% of the way there.
Yes.
So I've heard all these things before. So someone will say the performance is better in Japanese, and depending on how it was put together, yeah, probably. but you don't know. You wouldn't know that anyway because you're just reading the text.
Nah, bro, I do know.
So a lot of the nuance is gone, and
Nah.
that nuance can be put into the subtitles because it's only a line of dialogue. It's not a
Yes.
book. You're not reading a book. You could translate that pretty well.
I still disagree with you because, and like, dude, this is just gonna paint me as a weeb. Like, this is gonna paint me big time
Yeah,
as a weeb. But look, man,
let's go.
I've been watching anime for
Go weeboo.
20 plus years now, and
We all have
I
done.
just feel like I know so much about culture, Japanese culture, where I understand the nuances, the fluctuations in the voice. I can understand of quite a few Japanese phrases and words. And that's gonna make me sound so freaking
But do you
lame.
understand like when a character says something and there's like subtext to it?
Yes. And
Do you?
yes, I fully believe
What's
so.
percent?
But
Like
listen,
I'm not going to know the answer to this because I don't speak it, but like I'm almost positive we had a third person here who's fluent in Japanese and watched these things with you. They'd be like, "Okay, did you get that?" And you'd be like, "Oh, what?" And he'd be like, "Hi, see, you dumb motherfucker, you didn't get
uh,
that." And then they go to the next thing, and so on. Like there's
I would love to do
almost
that.
positive there's so much that you're not getting.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
That would be
I
cool.
would love to do that. And I'm going to give you some ground here and say that, I can't hit 100% nuances because I'm not a native speaker. So I do recognize that there is truth to what you're saying. But even if I can't 100% understand, I still believe that what I'm understanding is like, let's say 80%. I'm throwing a number out there. Okay? The max that a dub person can consume, I still believe at best is like what, 72%, 70%, 76%. There's still a
No, way
difference,
way
I
higher,
believe.
way
There's
higher.
nah, I believe that no matter how high it is, that mine is still higher, like as Japanese, just because I understand more of the nuances. And I will go out of my way, and this is how I've learned. I've gone out of my way to be in forums, to be in posts, to get from Japanese speakers, and where they're like, "Whoa, this is even cooler because in Japanese this means this and blah 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 blah," and would actually. So I'll take the effort to like understand those nuances that I don't hear audibly, to gain a larger respect for that, and then that sticks with me. It's like, oh, then I'll catch that again next time. Then I know again that like they translated this, and it's like the reason why they're crying that much is because blah 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 blah.
Right.
So I put in the extra work to do that, and I know that's not feasible at face value. Yeah, I can see how dubs are better.
Here's the thing, though. So the production companies that adapt these animes, they've put in the work to have a dialogue with the Japanese studio
Right,
to make sure the adaptation is as close as possible.
right,
So even though the person that is saying the lines
yeah,
doesn't speak Japanese, a lot of the nuances are communicated from the original studio.
right,
So I'll also say that in any adaptation of any language, you're never going to be 100%.
of
So
course,
let's start with that,
of
right?
course.
You'll never be 100%.
Yep.
But since the 2000s, they've gone out of the way to have dialogue with one another. So in a lot of anime, if not most at this point, the nuances explain the like cultural references are explained to them.
Yeah.
Any kind of like subtext is explained to them. So it's in the performance.
Mm.
So you can get pretty. I don't know. I'm gonna make up a number. They probably get as close as like 90% of what the original show was trying to do.
Mm.
And I'll say because you've put in the extra work that maybe even weebs don't put in, you probably do get a better understanding of what you're watching. But until like you fluently speak the language
Yeah.
and like really like understand the culture more,
Yeah.
you'll never get to past 90%.
It's true.
Whereas the dubs will do that for you. The
Yeah.
dub will do that for you.
Mm. It's true.
And then yeah, totally I agree. Like in some cases they'll have like maybe not even a girl voice a male character, but they'll have like somewhat the high register,
Yeah.
and that'll be annoying. But that also happens in the original Japanese dub too.
Yeah.
So it happens often in both cases. It'll just be different characters, like different characters will have a higher register, but it'll still happen often.
Right. Well, I mean, in modern day Japanese, there are tons of super high characters, like high voice characters, high pitched characters. But anyways, they have videos on like TikTok, Instagram, where they're like, here's this super famous scene from this super popular anime in 12 different like dubs. And then they're like French,
Mm-hmm.
English, German. And it's like, read the comments. People are like, Japanese is the best. Dude. It just sounds the best. Just, I see your
A
point,
lot, but
but
a lot of that is like trolling in a way because they haven't gone through and like watched each dub, and they haven't like
right.
paid attention to the things I've paid attention to. So a lot of times there'll be people like our age who like their only reference point is like Pokemon,
Yeah.
and we'll just say that it was not a great adaptation,
Dude,
and
okay.
they'll point to like a bunch of other shitty dubs, and then yeah, you're totally right. If you're going based off of that, yeah, and they'll also throw in like fucking Speed Racer from the fucking 80s. Yeah, if we're going by that, totally, you're right.
Right.
But again, the cause of it is has been addressed a long time ago. It's because they didn't care, and they didn't have to care. Like they weren't getting paid money anyway, or they weren't getting paid very much,
Yeah.
so it didn't matter. But fast forward into the late 2000s, 2010s. By this point, it had grown to such a big industry that they did have to care, and also internally within the I'll stick to the American studios. Internally, they care enough. Like they've also either grown up in anime or worked in it long enough to where they realize that they have to put attention into these things. Along with that, they communicate with a lot of the Japanese studios, whereas before they didn't. They literally would just hand them a translated script, and they would have to just figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Which is why you see a lot of like edits in older shows like Pokemon.
Yeah. And that's happened in video games as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And in a lot of classic games like NES, or NES particularly, you have a lot of misspellings and stuff like that because they did
yeah.
exactly that. But one thing I was gonna say is that to this day, like I will watch Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh in dubbed. Like I can't watch it subbed. It's weird. It's like it doesn't hit the same. And so from that
Okay, so
perspective,
you said you watch it dubbed,
yeah,
but not subbed?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you accepted that those were fine. I haven't
right.
seen them in a long time, but from what I remember, like they weren't that bad.
And if I were to watch it again, I wouldn't watch it subbed. I don't think I'd ever watch it subbed because it'd be like, this is not fun. This is not what I love. And so,
And I think because you watched those before you like conceptualized
right,
what is good anime, what is bad anime.
right.
So meaning you could do it again then.
Do what again?
You could watch something dubbed and enjoy it. Like a newer
Yes.
thing.
Mm. See, that's what I'm saying. You could use that example to be like, it's possible, but I would still fight you on it and be like, sure, but why would I want to? Like, I don't want to. I'm completely content watching it sub.
But I think that the central thesis was like one was inherently better than the other. That's my thing.
Yeah. Oh, I still agree.
If people can have their preference, that's fine. But when people say one is inherently better than the other, that's when I start whipping out all this shit. So I'm telling you, there are a lot of like newer shows that have a really bad translated text at the bottom.
I'm gonna need some examples. It's one thing to say all this, but you need
But that goes both
sources.
ways. Like you have to show me like a newer dub that sucks ass.
Hell yeah.
And for every new one you show me that sucks ass, I can show you one that is pretty decent.
All right. So a success is better than decent, though. That's for sure.
I mean that too.
Look, we've been talking for almost 3 hours, man. I'm starving. I need to eat. So
It's a macaroni dog.
I'm gonna eat pizza because my brother bought pizza. So I'm gonna dive in and get all greasy and dirty
Damn
and
dog.
nasty. I've been a nasty girl.
I know, yeah.
Okay, I gotta go.